Hello, and thank you for joining me. I'm Elizabeth Burden, your host for AZ Illustrated Arts, coming to you this week from Studio B. Tonight, we'll explore the different facets of flamenco and see how this collaborative art form is exciting a new generation of singers, dancers, and musicians. Find out why organizing Tucson's annual Flamenco Festival is a labor of love for a local couple who is sharing cultural traditions. Look back into Tucson history to learn about the founding and construction of the Temple of Music and Art. And I'll talk with two directors from the Arizona Theater Company about tough financial times and recent changes at their organization. But first, today's top stories.
Arizona's unemployment rate increased from 8% in July to 8.3% in August, that according to state jobless numbers released today. That puts the state trend at odds with national numbers, which dropped in August to 7.3%. While the government sector added by far the most jobs last month, the State Department of Administration says that's common in August as school districts hire for the new school year. In the last two unemployment reports, government jobs had been on the decline because of the annual summer drop in education-related jobs. The August unemployment rate of 8.3% is the same as the rate for August of 2012. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency is hitting mining company ASARCO with more than $30,000 in fines. The company is accused of improperly managing PCB waste at its Hayden smelter facility. The company is also investing money at the smelter to ensure the problems do not continue. And finally, the Reed Park Zoo has some new residents. Two grizzly bears went on public display today. Ronan and Finley were rescued from the wild as cubs after their mother was killed following her break-ins to a number of buildings looking for food. Zoo officials say the cubs were starting to copy their mother when they were taken from the wild. And that's a look at tonight's headlines.
Flamenco is a centuries-old folk tradition that has become popular all over the world. Next, we'll look at how the art of flamenco is attracting contemporary performers right here in Tucson. Luis Carrion visits the Spanish restaurant Casa Vicente for an after-hours rehearsal focused on flamenco's three primary elements: music, singing, and dance.
It's interaction between three people without really speaking a whole lot. It's more of a communication that happens through music and through movement. There's three essential elements you have to have, at least for most people's understanding of what flamenco is, and that is cante, toque, and baile. Those three aspects come together most notably. Those three are the principal pieces of flamenco.
Everybody brings something to the table, right? So the dancer might say, I'm going to do this, and then I say, well, I can do this for that. And then the singer might say, well, I want to do this, and, so it's always a relationship that's alive, it never ends. You always have to be aware of what's happening in the spot, in the moment, because even if you rehearsed it, something might go like this, and then something completely different might be born out of that, so in a sense we're rehearsing, but we're also kind of performing, and we're also kind of experimenting, so it's fun. There's something we call jaleo, which is, even within the musicians, somebody else is doing something and you feel like they did it well, or you feel like, respond to it, and you say ole tu, or something, right? But that also happens in the audience, right? You might be listening to a show or watching somebody dance and they do something, and then you just go, ole tu.
Siempre he escuchado flamenco en mi casa, vengo de familia gitana, mi madre canta y siempre lo he escuchado desde chiquitita. Hombre, yo creo que al principio tienes que sentirlo, porque si no lo siente, creo que no se puede cantar. Que tiene, para cantar flamenco yo creo que hay que sentirlo, si no, no sale o no... Sí lo puedes estudiar, por supuesto, como se estudia cualquier cosa, pero no sé, mi opinión es que hay que sentirlo, porque tiene mucha emoción, muchísima emoción que tiene que sentir.
One of the things in flamenco that we have is different palos, so they're different types of songs, and each one has its own flavor or its own maybe even purpose for a specific emotion. And people, of course, interpret each emotion a little bit differently, but for instance, there's one for joy, there's one for mourning, there's one for joking, for being silly. We kind of go back and forth, and each of us put in our own, maybe our own wants, our own desires for that moment, but we all have to cooperate together for it to happen nicely. Otherwise, it's chaos. But no, the communication has to be there.
Joining me now to talk more about flamenco and the festival in Tucson that it inspires are Vicente Sanchez and Marita Gomez. Thank you both for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the Flamenco Festival started in 2009. Why start such a festival in Tucson, Arizona?
Okay, the restaurant started 3 years before that, and the restaurant Casa Vicente has always been thinking in flamenco and the idea of a tradition of Spain. It happened to be that year, it wasn't a unique year that the Albuquerque Flamenco Festival, it didn't happen. The university has some trouble with money, and all the flamencos, artists, they're in this band. So the great opportunity came for us and say, hey, don't worry, we're gonna do something, and we're gonna do a festival with our little resources as the best that we can. So everybody will have a festival that year. So that's how this festival started.
What does flamenco mean to you, and what does the festival mean to the community, you think?
The flamenco is an art of expression in Spain. It's compounded by music, singing, and dancing, and all in a synergy, put it together. And it comes from the heart. It's a people type of art of expression. I don't say that the artists are not educated, but it comes from the bottom and with the need to express some social issues, some personal issues, and express it through the music, the guitar, and the dancing.
That in some ways makes it like a contemporary, like hip-hop, even though flamenco is a centuries-old tradition. What you're saying is it started from really telling stories. What are the kinds of stories that flamenco then tells? And how does it fit for audiences today? How does it translate for audiences today?
Well, it's the same story than always. It's love and it's family and it's travel and it's anything that it comes deep into you is the happiness of life and the sorrow of life. And what do you think?
This year, the artists from Spain who are performing on Friday and Saturday. On Friday, they're doing a spontaneous, the magic of the present moment and living, improvising, connecting with the audience. Saturday, they're doing a story, and it's called Encontrándote, Finding Yourself. And it's a story of a woman that arrives in an unknown place and a young girl, naive, and she learns through the process, through some hard knocks and through some doors that open for her to find herself and become a woman. And so, and it's going to be a combination of tradition, history, and modern life.
What do you think sets flamenco apart from other musical and dance forms?
I think it's the freedom. It will take from any other art, and you can say the origin of flamenco. You look at the genealogy of the flamenco. It comes from the Arabs, from the Jews, from the Romans, from the Celts, and from the Hungarians that travel through the gypsies that come through Spain, and they pick up on it because it's the people itself, and they find any tool, they use any tools that they can find just to express that is very deep.
I mean, people experience intensity. I mean, that's what you hear reactions. And a lot of people, even if they don't understand the words, can see the emotions on the faces of the dancers or the singer, that you could just feel like it's powerful, whether or not you actually understand the words.
You mentioned that there are performers coming in both Friday and Saturday. So flamenco is now a worldwide phenomenon. Where are the countries that you have people coming in from, and how did the tradition start in those particular countries?
Well, I'll tell you where they're coming in from. He maybe can tell you how it started, but we have artists coming in from Spain. We have probably 5 people from Spain. We have an artist from Mexico. We have a couple of artists from New Mexico, and New Mexico has a strong tradition, and partly because there's a strong history of Spanish immigration to New Mexico, and so there's people from there. And then we have some artists from Phoenix and some local artists from Tucson. So, combination.
And so the artists from Spain makes sense. I know in previous years you've also had people from France and other places. Right. How is the tradition expanded out from its origins? Why is it so popular in other places?
Well, it cannot be contained. It's a little bit like jazz, and somehow, so it's an art that you cannot contain it. You grow into it, it grows into you, and you cannot hold it in. You have to express it, and that's the power of the flamenco. Somebody who grew up in the flamenco family, they're gonna go around the world and tell everybody, this is my tradition. It's very intense.
What else is new for the festival this year?
Well, this year we're starting off with it. We did a guitar competition, and we had youth. We had 2 rounds, and we had the finalists of the youth last night. And the 2 finalists will be performing on the opening night of the festival on Thursday. We had an open guitar competition for adults, and then the final round will be also on Thursday. So we added that component, and it was absolutely incredible. Blown away by the kids really trying to learn Spanish classical music, and perform it and get involved. And
is that an important piece, continuing the tradition and passing it on to the younger generation?
Absolutely, absolutely. The same thing with the dancing. They're flamenco students, they're young students that have been studying. They don't usually perform in the festival, but that's part of it. And as they performed last weekend, they'll get to watch the festival, and some of the stronger students are going to be performing in the festival.
Vicente, Marita, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Battling over budget issues took center stage on Capitol Hill today, with lawmakers fighting over how to avoid a federal government shutdown and a debt limit crisis.
Plus, Pope Francis declared the Catholic Church's moral authority could fall like a house of cards if it doesn't stop obsessing about issues like abortion and homosexuality.
And Hari Srinivasan reports on a California town's unique plan to stem the damage from the housing downturn by taking control of underwater mortgages.
The city may invoke eminent domain, seizing the loans and then working with owners to try to refinance their homes at today's lower price.
Good evening, I'm Judy Woodruff.
And I'm Gwen Eiffel. Those are just some of the stories we're covering on tonight's PBS NewsHour.
Cities that look just like Paris and Venice are popping up all over China, but they're not to everyone's taste.
They think that they're tacky. But I think that what these communities are testament to is the incredible amount of personal choice that Chinese consumers have.
I'm Renee Montaigne, a tour of China's copycat cities on the next Morning Edition from NPR News.
Since it first opened in 1927, the Temple of Music and Art has served as one of the anchors of Tucson's performing arts community. The temple was built with the hope it would attract some of the world's greatest talents. In 2012, vintage film depicting the temple's original construction was discovered and restored. That footage gives us an opportunity to delve into the compelling narrative behind this local treasure. Luis Carrion has the story.
This long-lost 16mm film footage shows a groundbreaking ceremony on Scott Avenue, just south of downtown Tucson. The year is 1926, and local dignitaries and the public have gathered to usher in the construction process for Tucson's Temple of Music and Art.
It was a wonderful snapshot in time.
Brooks Jeffrey is director of the Drockman Institute, a research and public service unit of the College of Architecture and Landscape Architecture at the University of Arizona. He says the Temple of Music and Art is one of the anchors of the downtown performing arts community, and the recently discovered footage reveals some details about its origins.
So here you saw both the groundbreaking, which was this event where they invited an Italian opera star of her day to come and take that first shovelful, and the whole celebration of what that meant to the arts community.
What the Temple of Music and Art meant to the arts community of the time was a dedicated space for music, theater, and culture. The effort to build the temple was led by a group of dedicated women known as the Saturday Morning Music Club.
The history of the Temple of Music and Art is really a number of different stories. One is really about the development of cultural institutions in a young, emerging town like Tucson in the 1920s. The other is about the role of women as patrons, as artists, as the benefactors of a variety of different movements, including the arts and culture. And the third is really about the architectural traditions that this building represents. This was one of the first masterpieces of the Spanish colonial revival style.
The Temple of Music and Art opened in 1927, and it consisted of 25,000 square feet that included a 947-seat performance space, with scene shops, dressing rooms, art galleries, and education facilities. For the women that led the efforts to make the building a reality, it represented a gathering place where the community could indulge in the arts.
And even the term temple, it has religious overtones to it, is that we should worship the arts and culture as a meaningful contribution to our culture.
All of us here were agog and delighted to see what the roots of this were.
David Ira Goldstein is the artistic director of the Arizona Theater Company.
This is when it's built.
The company currently calls the temple its home in southern Arizona. And according to Goldstein, the footage reveals how important the construction of the building was to the community at the time.
So now the woman whose picture is in the lobby.
She came up with the idea.
Okay, so she's probably in this footage. You can just sense in that footage the pride that the community took in launching this building. And it must have been an exciting time in Tucson in the late 20s. And it's fun to take a look at that footage and see what people looked like and what they wore.
Goldstein says he considers the temple one of the architectural treasures of the city. And although ATC has only been in the space since 1990, the artistic legacy of the building has deep roots within the community.
The 1920s were a really wonderful era for touring performers, both theatrical troupes, of course, but musicians, classical musicians, bands. I think a lot of the really great entertainers of the day were able to come here and perform in Tucson and really sort of opened the community up to a wider cultural outlook, which I think is maintained to this day and only grown.
Looking at the Temple of Music and Art today, it might be difficult to imagine that during the 80s, the building had fallen into disrepair, and it was nearly lost to developers who wanted to put up an office building in its place.
There were leaks in the roof. The whole backstage area had collapsed.
Don Guest is facility coordinator for the Arizona Theater Company. He says he remembers the building during a period of transition before it became home to ATC.
So, yeah, nothing's really changed except for we've kept it up. During the concerts, I would see water coming down the stairwells. I mean, that's how problematic the place was.
During the 80s, the arts community and the city worked together to buy out the developers and revitalize the then crumbling structure. According to Goldstein, Tucson was once again able to create a luxurious space where people could see and hear performances in an intimate setting and bask in the arts of the time.
We like to think of the Temple of Music and Art as a real community meeting place. We do our plays here, of course, many weeks out of the year, but we also host special presentations, musical performances, weddings, graduations. Other theater companies, of course, utilize the upstairs cabaret theater. So it's a pretty active place.
Looking at this film footage now from 1927, during the laying of the cornerstone for the Temple of Music and Art, one can only imagine what residents of the time expected from the legacy that they would be creating.
Yeah, the history of this building is about art institutions and cultural institutions struggling financially. And so these institutions continue to struggle to today. And so the fact that ATC has sustained this for so long is a real tribute to to both them as an organization and the patrons that support it.
The Temple of Music and Art serves as the Tucson home of the Arizona Theater Company, which begins its 47th season this week. Recent changes in leadership and reports of financial deficits have left some theater fans wondering about the company's future. Here to tell us about the status of the Arizona Theater Company are Artistic Director David Ira Goldstein and Interim Managing Director Jessica L. Andrews. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us.
So ATC has ended the past 4 years with a deficit. Just this last completed fiscal year, the deficit was about $1 million. Can you tell us what strategies are being put into place to address that, what looks like a trend?
Certainly. I mean, this last year was clearly a real challenge. We've had over the past, I'm sure since the theater started, ups and downs. Some years have been surpluses, other years have been deficits. We've just dealt with it in-house as best we could. This year with $1 million, last year has really been forced the theater to look at some strategies and really put an action plan in place to just start raising some special money.
Are there special strategies that are different than what's been employed in the past?
Well, a lot of it is the immediacy of the impact a deficit like that has on cash flow. And so that's one thing we're focusing very heavily on with our board leadership and other donors who've been actively involved with the theater for a long time have really stepped up and have been wonderful about helping us put this plan together and then being willing to begin to ask people to do some special gifts to the theater this year.
David, what effect will this have, if any, on what audiences see this season?
Well, hopefully it won't have any effect. I mean, we are doing a smaller season in terms of the number of actors you'll see on stage, but we're still doing the same range of plays, from classics to musicals, new plays, old plays, comedies, dramas. And we still have what I think is the real strength of Arizona Theater Company, which is our incredible production staff. People come to the Temple of Music and Art and they see magic on stage, and it's largely because of the artisans that we have that can take a piece of cloth and turn it into a beautiful backdrop, or a piece of wood and turn it into a beautiful piece of furniture. So I think in terms of the actors we employ, the shows we do, I'm hopeful that there won't be any apparent on stage differences. But it is a smaller budget, and we've maybe trimmed back the size of the season a bit.
Before we were talking a little bit about productions that start here and go elsewhere, and productions that start elsewhere and come into Tucson. Is that another strategy that the ATC, as well as regional theater companies around the nation, are starting to employ to deal with tough financial times?
I think that's been growing over the last 10 years, and particularly since the recession hit in 2007, 2008. Is that theaters, these productions are expensive to create. They have to be rehearsed, they have to be built, and then they run for a finite amount of time. We've always been fortunate in that we build all of our productions to play in both, start in Tucson, and then travel up to Phoenix. So we build them all to fit in a truck and go up there. And so by partnering with other like-minded theaters across the country, we've been able to save on a lot of expenses. This year we have 2 productions that are starting somewhere else. I just directed Xanadu at a theater in Seattle that will then come here. Our next production, The Mountaintop, will start here in Arizona and then travel to the Blumenthal Center in North Carolina and then on to the Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis. So by pooling together, you can help keep the budget at the right size.
And my understanding is ATC is the only resident professional theater company in the U.S. to present full seasons in 2 cities. How important is that to the mission of the ATC? Serving both Tucson and Phoenix?
I think it's very important. I think that we are the state theater. We've been given that designation. I think we take that as a responsibility, and being in both cities really gives access to the citizens of Arizona all over. It may be an hour, 2-hour drive perhaps, but it's accessible. And
what challenges, however, does that give to the operations of the theater as a whole?
Well, it's a lot of human resources go into it. I've been here 22 years, and I've driven the equivalent of 17 times around the world between Tucson and Phoenix, which is a lot of miles in the car, and our whole staff has to commit to that. But on a financial basis, you know, often I'm asked, why don't you just be in Tucson, just be in Phoenix? On a financial basis, what we do makes enormous sense. Our budget is about $6 million this year, and we literally take in almost exactly $3 million in Tucson and almost exactly $3 million in Phoenix. But if we were still to produce the same season in just one city, our budget would only go down by perhaps $1 million or $1.5 million. So there's a tremendous fiscal upside to being in both Tucson and Phoenix, plus serving a wider community.
And it does bring some management challenges. I don't know if you want to
Sure.
talk about that.
And what are those?
Well, we have board members in both cities, so how do you bring a board together for board meetings? What we've started to do is video conference, but we also want them to interact as a board. It's one board, it's not two boards, so they're meetings in Casa Grande, they're city-specific meetings. We've tried lots of different things. Same with the management team. We've had 2 marketing directors on occasion, sometimes we have 1. So we have to think creatively about how do we make this work for everybody, because people have to operate differently.
How does it affect audience development? And to me, another question, so subscribers staying the same, rising, falling? What have you seen over the past several years?
Well, I think we're seeing the same that everybody is seeing across the country in the performing arts, which is a younger generation that tends not to be the subscriber, tends to be the single ticket buyer. So single ticket sales go up, subscriptions have, for us, only plateaued. They haven't really gone down a lot, but that's sort of a national trend, and also it becomes, the demographics of Phoenix and Tucson, I think, have become increasingly different over the 2 decades that I've been here.
So that brings me back to then audience development in Tucson versus audience development in Phoenix. What are the differences you're seeing, and what, again, strategies for the upcoming season are you hoping to employ that will help address flat audiences?
Well, I think certainly we are looking to social media in a different way to reach younger audiences, but that's true in both cities. Tucson really does feel ownership of Arizona Theater Company and certainly the Temple of Music and Art. So we are really trying to reach out to people who come to the theater maybe once and maybe would like to come back. So we're packaging it a little differently. We've actually had in place for a while flex passes, so people don't have to commit to 6 plays necessarily. Time is really tough for people.
And speaking of 6 plays, we really only have about a half a minute left, but can you give us a quick snapshot of what's opening this week and what else you have coming?
Well, our season's opening this week with one of the great, classic, wonderful comedies of all time, The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde. It's in previews now. It's a terrific production, beautifully mounted and directed and acted, and it opens this Friday, and please come on down to the Temple of Music and Art. You'll have a delightful time.
I really want to thank both of you for joining us, and people, if they want more information, where can they go to find out about the rest of this season?
They can go to the website, which is arizonatheater.org, and theater is R-E, not E-R, and they can call our box office at 622-2823. Did I get that right, Jessica?
Yes, you did.
Thank you both so much for joining me. I'm Elizabeth Burden. Thank you for watching AZ Illustrated Arts. To post a comment on any of our stories or to keep up with the latest news, visit us online at azpm.org.